Hello, I am Tara from livingonadime.com with my mom Jill. We both wrote the Dining on a Dime cookbook, which everybody loves. Not just saying that, they really do. Mom is been telling her story about how she lived on $500 a month raising 2 teenagers, and now we're kind of getting towards the end of that. I don't know if this is the last video or not. We'll see. Might be. See if we can get 10 years into this 30-minute video.
They were getting ready to move up to Washington, and I think I told you before about how we'd made so many trips back and forth to Kansas and Colorado that things were starting to work themselves out in such a way that with Mike's job in Washington, they couldn't find a house up there, and he was changing jobs, wanting to change jobs a little bit.
Well, he got laid off from his job.
Oh, did he? I didn't know he got laid off.
He got laid off.
Okay.
So, and through all of this, he'd been laid off a couple of times because he was the low man on the totem pole and the university had a union. And because he was the low man on the totem pole, even though the person above him wasn't as qualified to do the job, he got the job over Mike when they would do the layoffs. And so at this point, he had got laid off again. And we were kind of like, we need to just...
Something needed to change. Yeah. We were so isolated. David and Shayla were needing us in Kansas because they didn't really have family at the time to help them. We were isolated in Idaho, and one thing after another, so we decided to go ahead and move. And I won't tell you the story about Tawra and Mike moving back there because you've heard it a little bit in other videos that we've done, but I'll let them, sometime tell you. It was their story on the trip back there was just unbelievable. What should have been like a 3-day trip all the way to Kansas was like 11 some odd days. They ended up putting Ellie in the hospital, partway going back there, and it was just one thing after another. That could almost be a book in and of itself. But I'll just tell you, they made the trip back there, went ahead and decided to move to Kansas. Well, their house hadn't sold yet, and I just put my house on the market because I was going to go. I couldn't stay there by myself, really. And so I stayed with the 2 houses thinking we would sell them pretty quick, and then I would move on back to Kansas with everybody. I ended up being there for almost 2 years trying to get the houses sold. Theirs finally did sold. They left the books with me at that time. We were still doing the books, quite a bit on the books, and
after Ellie was born in January of 1999, and then in October of 1999, 2 years after I started writing it, Dining on a Dime, back then called Not Just Beans, came out.
Yeah.
We self-published it, printed it ourselves.
Yeah.
And so we had to store the books in a shed that we had rented across the street, in a hangar that we had rented across the street at the airport. So that's what the deal is with the books.
And so they didn't want to move the books, so I was taking care of shipping, doing all the shipping, and I laugh because Tawra just hates the shipping, and I feel bad rubbing it in, but I rub it in anyway. I always tell her I had to handwrite all the now she just prints off shipping labels in the computer, and we didn't have that really. Computers didn't do that type of thing or anything back then, so I had to handwrite all the labels on the packages that we sent, and then I'd put them in my a little wagon, and walk them over to the post office and ship them. So I was taking care of shipping out the packages and waiting for the houses to sell. They finally took a pretty good loss on their house, and we had to
write an $8,000 check to someone to buy our house when Michael was making $9 an hour.
Yeah, so they took a hit on theirs. I finally got mine sold, and
you lost a bunch of money.
I lost huge amounts of money on mine. It was 50%. I paid cash for my house, and I lost 50% of it. But I did go back to visit them. It was a 2-year period, but I went back one winter, and I parked a little tiny itsy bitsy camper trailer in the back, kind of in their backyard, and I stayed in there behind Tara and Mike's house in Kansas, and I drive between their house and David and Shayla's, visiting both of them.
We were 2 hours away. When we moved back to Kansas, we didn't want to go back to Wichita. Now, if you're living in Wichita, don't send me an email. But I hate Wichita. I absolutely hate Wichita. The people are nice. It's easy to get around, but I don't like the weather. I don't like Wichita. So we decided to move up to Manhattan, which we thought was more trees and that kind of thing. So we were 2 hours away from Wichita.
So I would drive like on the weekend or whatever and stay with my son and his wife and then drive back and stay in my little trailer house. That time was kind of exciting because the book was starting to do things. And I'll never forget, Tara was in charge of doing the marketing. She would send out packets, press packets to different places. And people started noticing us at that time. And I remember we were so excited. Well, our book, I think at that point, we were getting in almost every women's magazine. They were starting to put us in all the different women's magazines. Dr. Laura, I remember driving back from Idaho to Kansas one time, and I don't know if anybody knows who Dr. Laura is now, but she was really a well-known person at that time. And out of the blue, on the radio station, she had a radio station that she talked on all the time. She said, okay, I never endorse any products that we have on here. And she said, but this product I'm going to endorse because this is the best book that's come out for wives, homemaking, cooking, anything in years. And she, yes. And she said, I am going to endorse this myself personally. I love this book. And she said, she said, this is just the best book. And I said, yes, I couldn't believe we were actually on Dr. Laura at this point. So the book was doing good. People were wanting us to go talk in different parts of the country. They wanted us to do all kinds of public speaking and different things and teaching classes and doing seminars and things on the book. But we have the chronic fatigue, and it was just too much for us to do that amount traveling. Tara was having the babies then, and so we had to back down, and we just slightly backed down a little. We never gave up on the business or stopped it, but there were different periods where we had to slow down a little bit, and then we'd start up again. Because like when Dave and Jack were born, we had to back off for a little while. After Jack was born, Mike and I were Tara still did a lot, but you took over taking care of Jack a lot more at that point. We kind of slowed down a little bit. Then after they moved to Colorado, Mike started working with the business even more, and we started doing the YouTube channel, and things just started building up once again. And Jack had gotten into school by then, Dave was in school, so it was easier for us to step up to the plate and do a little bit more. But finally I sold my house after 2 years, and I moved back to Kansas. And it just so happened that I was staying with Tara and Mike for about 6 months when I first moved back here while I was house hunting, trying to find my house. And that's when my handsome Dave was born. And he was very calm. He was a calm birth, a calm everything. Of course, I wasn't there for the birth, but I was home watching BJ and Ellie. But he was born, and it was exciting because I got to be there then. Were you on bed rest with him? I think that's why it worked out, because I was staying with him, so that worked out really well. The timing on that was really good. And not too long after he was born, a couple months in, I went ahead and found a house and moved into it. And we had stuff going on all the time. There's no way I could even begin to do that. The most exciting times half the time was the emergency room visits. My little girls just were kind of awkward and they kept tripping and falling and just stuff. But Ellie got accidentally hit in the head with a golf club. That was the scariest one. And Tara called me and she said, Mita said, oh, it was just horrible. I could just tell it was really bad when she called me. She said, all she said was, Mita said St. Joe's. Ellie's hurt. And she hung up the phone. And so I took off for the hospital and they were taken off to the hospital. And she, when I got there, I think Tara jumped out and got the boys out, Dave and BJ at that time, put them in the car, or vice versa. And Mike took Ellie in the emergency room. But anyway, I picked up the two boys. So I didn't know what was going on, really. Didn't have a chance to see Ellie, nothing. They just put the two boys in the car with me, and the boys and I took off. Dave was about 2, and BJ was very traumatized because he and Ellie were so close, and he was so upset, and I thought, oh, great. So I was trying to get him home as fast as possible because I thought getting him home in a home environment, it might help him calm down a little bit. Well, would you believe we barely got, I don't know, we were halfway from the hospital. Tara's house was quite a way, about 15 minutes or so from the hospital, maybe 20. We were halfway there, and they were having the Toys for Tots motorcycle run. And we got stuck in the traffic for 1 hour just sitting while the motorcycles went by. Here I had this poor BJ that was so shook up. Dave was a toddler that we were potty training, and he had to go to the bathroom. And I had no idea if it was bad enough. I didn't even know if Ellie was alive or dead at that point because she was so seriously hurt, and it was just like an hour sitting there, have no way of knowing anything. And we finally got home, and it was really pretty serious because it cracked her skull, and but she was okay. It was just like a microscopic amount. Otherwise,
yeah, they said if he would have hit her another 1/4 inch, her whole face would have been paralyzed.
Yeah, so. And it was awful. And so we'd have times like that. One night when I was living with them, BJ was coughing. I slept in the room with BJ downstairs, and I remember him coughing.
Well, Mom had sold her house, and so she was living with us.
Yeah, so I was staying with her because I was all of this. But
at that time when BJ was living.
Yeah,
there.
when BJ was happening, he was coughing and coughing. All of a sudden, in the middle of the night, I thought it was like he was gasping instead of coughing. So I jumped up to check on him, and he couldn't get his breath. And I grabbed him up out of the bed, and they lived in a bi-level, Tara and Mike did, so that there was like four stairs upstairs and 4 stairs downstairs, and you met at the front door. And I remember grabbing BJ up and running with him and screaming bloody murder. He's not breathing. He can't breathe. He can't breathe. And I was running up those stairs as fast as I could. And later on, I thought all that I could think was, I'm so glad Mike moved so fast. I've never seen Mike move faster than that, but he moved fast because by the time I got up my 4 stairs, Mike was already coming down their 4 stairs from upstairs where they were with getting his pants on, and we kind of almost met there right on the landing, and he grabbed BJ from me, and I opened the front door, and he ran out the front door. And what happened was the cold air, because BJ was almost not breathing at this point, the cold air hit him in the face, BJ in the face, and he went, and he got his breath and started breathing. So we had time and time again, different things happening. And I won't be too much longer. I'll do this one other example. Alex, my son's, why were you guys staying with me? For some reason, it seemed like you were staying with me when Alex hit her head. Were you
Oh, that was the ice storm.
The ice storm, okay.
Or we had no electricity.
And my son's daughter, she fell down the steps and busted her head wide open. Well, my son wasn't at home. My daughter-in-law called us. It was the biggest chaos. Tara drove over to her house to take them to the emergency room, and I remember I had to go over to stay with my grandson, so I had to walk. It was kind of spooky because it was about 11 o'clock at night, and my area is not super good, but I had to walk over to my son's house. He had to go over an overpass, over a highway, and then down over to their housing area, because we didn't have a car. For some reason, Tara had taken the one car, and we were short a car that night. And so I had to walk over there to stay with them and Tara couldn't find an emergency room that would get them in right away. So they were driving all over town trying to find an emergency room. Mike was staying with the other kids at home. It was just, our things just kind of always had a little element of excitement to them, to say the least. And you know where your brother was that night? Do you remember where your brother was that night when she fell? He'd gone to a Superman movie. And so we have no way of getting hold of him, and he didn't know anything till after everything was said and done and all. So we always tease him about being at a Superman movie when we needed him so bad. But anyway, so I settled in Kansas, and then Jack was born, and that was an exciting time. We had a lot of fun with Jack being born. My folks happened to be back here, which was even more fun, or back in Kansas with us the week that he was born. So they got to be here when Jack was first born, because they all have birthdays. Dave and my dad and Jack all have birthdays at the same time. And then after Jack was, 2 or 3? How old was Jack when you moved?
He was almost 2.
Almost 2, yeah. And so then Tara and Mike moved on back here to Colorado and left me in Kansas. I was going to, okay, we get this question all the time, so I should answer this maybe here. Everybody wants to know why I don't move to Colorado. And I would. At the time, I planned on immediately moving after they moved here. But within just a short period of time, a few months' time, by the time I was getting my house ready to put on the market and stuff, the prices in Colorado on houses just went insane, just went crazy. So I always pay cash for my house, and I didn't have enough money to pay, for a house here. They don't even have houses in my price range listed here in this area at all. So that's why I haven't moved to Colorado. I have tried, and I would do it in a heartbeat, but there's just no houses that I can afford back here. So I'm kind of just stuck in Kansas. Not stuck in Kansas, but I'm still in Kansas. And so as soon as Tara and Mike have thought about moving, and that stuff is kind of up in the air. So I'm thinking, well, I'll just bide my time. Probably what's going to happen in about 5 or 10 years, they're going to have to put me in a nursing home. So at the rate things are going. But anyway, I think we'll just wrap this up now with this. And I don't panic, even though we're closing down this series. It's not like I'm disappearing off the face of the map. We've done.
Says who?
Oh, is there something I need to know about? We're still doing videos together, Tara and I are. I'm still doing live stream when I come back here to visit. Oh, I'm going to fire you today. I don't know if I have that power in our company to do that, but and so I'm going to do the live stream. When I talk on the videos, I'll tell other stories that I wasn't able to tell in detail on this series of videos. So don't panic. I'm not going totally away. It's not like that type of thing. It's just this one little series we are stopping, and we'll start. I'm kicking around all kinds of ideas, and Tara would kill me if I mention any ideas of what I could do. I don't have a smartphone. If I could get a smartphone, then I could maybe start doing a little bit more videos and things, or Facebook stuff. But one of these days, I'll be doing more maybe. So this is the end of Penny Pitching, everybody. So it's been fun. It's been interesting, to say the least. And I hope you guys all enjoyed them. And I hope you learned something. The main reason we take the time to do any of our videos is for you to get the tips and ideas. We'll use what you can and try to start thinking and think, how can I do this? How can I not whine, complain, blame my life on everything that's going wrong, but just step up to the plate, be brave, get out there and do the best you can. And that's the whole point of these videos. So,
yep.
So,
all right. Please like, subscribe, and share. Check out our Dining on a Dime cookbook and visit us at livingonadime.com.